All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about why Xavier Legette was an absolutely laughable pick by the Carolina Panthers. But before we get into it, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. Let's dive right into it. So, over the course of this offseason, I've been absolutely dunked on in my comment section by Giants fans, Bears fans, and Steelers fans at certain points this offseason for saying negative things about their team. And Panthers fans, I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever you throw at me because I want to have a conversation about this. If you like the pick or you didn't like the pick, I'm open to anything you guys think. But certain organizations just cannot help themselves when it comes to their overall draft strategy and philosophy. The Raiders under Al Davis could not help themselves when it came to drafting speedsters. The Mike Zimmer Vikings could not help themselves when it came to drafting corners. The Pete Carroll Seahawks could not help themselves when it came to trading back. And Carolina's a new proponent of this. Big-bodied receivers who are really raw route running is something that Carolina cannot help but take chances on. This team cannot stop drafting the raw big-bodied X receiver archetype, and most of them have very underwhelming college production. It's been happening ever since they got their hands on Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin. It's continued to this year's NFL draft where they selected Xavier Legette, and the year before where they selected Jonathan Mingo, and a couple of years prior where we got Terrace Marshall Jr. The one time they've diverted away from this, they ended up with their best wide receiver in DJ Moore. And I don't understand why they keep going with this archetype. The NFL is a cycle, it's cyclical. So this could change soon, but the position is getting smaller and shiftier, not bigger. And separation matters more than just being able to outmuscle guys with pure raw physical strength. Certain defensive concepts now also favor dink and dunk down the field rather than throw bombs, and I just don't see it working out with Legette. Dave Canales is an incredible coach, and I really hope he does get the best out of him. But before I go off on why I thought this was a completely humiliating pick by Carolina, let me just say that Legette seems like an absolutely great human. I want him to prove me wrong because when I'm forced to inevitably watch the Carolina Panthers on Thursday Night Football next year, I'd much rather prefer that these guys be good and Bryce Young can get the help he needs. But I'm discouraged by the program that Tepper is building in Carolina. And Legette very well could be a solid pro. And I want him to succeed. I want local athletes to succeed because growing up and playing from the team from your region is probably something that all kids dream of. And he's a really easy story to root for. He transitioned from quarterback to wide receiver. He had both his parents pass on, which is something that would be tough for anyone. I can't even imagine what he was going through. And a story like that is easy for fans to root for, and I will be cheering for him to succeed in the NFL. And Carolina also needs some excitement in the Tepper era, and Canales very well could figure out how to use this team's weapons to the best of their ability. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up succeeding as a pro, but I just did not agree with this pick for a number of reasons. And for all the positivity he has about, being a good zone beater in space, there is no getting around the fact that his route running is very raw, especially when he runs isolated routes on one side of the field. And he's not at a place in his development where he can win one-on-one. He doesn't have a huge arsenal of moves on how he's shaking defenders. And you can make a strong case that he was able to win because he out-athleted defenders when he did win in those moments. And it's hard not to be cautious when projecting older prospects with this lack of seasoning. But from a philosophy standpoint, this is the last wide receiver I would have taken, let alone for a team like Carolina, where your process just has not been working out. Can you imagine if they listened to draft nerds and analytic nerds on who to take instead of Steve Smith and David Tepper? And one of my main problems with this pick is Legette and Mingo are strikingly similar prospects. They're strikingly similar, and it's weird that no one talks about it. Like, yeah, they aren't carbon copies of one another, but they're like 80% the same profile. Big wide receivers who did not produce. And history says if you do not produce your first 3 years in college, you are a bust. It's not what I say. It's not what analysts I listen to say. It's not what podcasts I listen to say. It is the trend with a large sample size to back it up. And my biggest problem with Legette on top of all of it was that he just didn't put up good numbers as an old prospect, but he beat the crap out of the worst teams he played. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Florida, UNC, Furman, none of those teams have a defense of any legitimacy. And those are all at least, the highest of those defenses is ranked 80th. So he was beating up on the 92nd and 110th. And I'm pretty sure Furman was actually ranked outside the top 130 when it came to their defense. And yeah, that's just hard to bank on with just 1 year of production. Just the fact that he knocked around bad opponents and he really knocked around poor opponents. And why this is all tied together is because they already have a Xavier Legette on their roster in Jonathan Mingo. And Mingo was a guy who was never really good to begin with either. He was never the leading receiver in any room in college. He got outproduced by two guys who ended up signing as UDFAs to the NFL. And the majority of his best performances were versus lesser competition where he was the best athlete on the field. He needs to be scheme touches with a very specific role in a lot of them to get any production. He was in a room with 33-year-old Adam Thielen and the ghost of DJ Chark, and he still finished behind them as far as production. And people were talking about him as if he could become an AJ Brown because I don't know, I guess they just thought about the Ole Miss thing. They were talking about him as if he could become an Amon-Ra, even though that was still in his upper, very, very upper echelon in the range of outcomes. I'm talking like 1%. I can understand why people thought that he needed that hyper-specific role, but anyway, the production just wasn't there. And I don't know, he just did not perform last year. But he was just a guy with a high relative athletic score, and any analytics chart will tell you that these two guys are the exact same player. They stick like a glove to one another, no matter the filters. And this is Jonathan Mingo all over again. And if the Carolina Panthers don't see it, I don't know what they were trying to talk themselves into. Legette ranked bottom 5 in this draft class as far as yards per out run versus zone, first downs per out run, touchdowns per out run, quarterback rating when targeted, and PFF grade. So yeah, once again, I hope Xavier Legette can succeed in the NFL. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to sit here and question the pick because I thought it was a horrible pick. I thought they should have gone with McConkey, like plain and simple. And the fact that they did not, there are a number of wide receivers who I would have taken over Xavier Legette. I would have rather had Jalen Polk. I would have rather had Lad McConkey. I would have much rather had Keon Coleman. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of where Carolina has been headed. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Once again, I want this to be a conversation. I want this to be a discussion between us. I don't want to just come in here and shit on him. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.